Listen to me right now. You may not see it yet, but the wheel has turned. The lies they told, the pain they caused, the way they smiled while you suffered, it's all coming back to them, and it's not coincidence. It's not karma waiting, it's karma arriving, and this is just the beginning, because life has a way of collecting debts, and the narcissist's bill just hit the table. Let's talk about it. You see, the narcissist thought they were above it all. Above consequences, above truth, above you. They walked around wearing a mask, charming the world while secretly draining your soul. They took your kindness as weakness, your love as naivety, your loyalty as an invitation to exploit. And when they were done, they discarded you like you didn't matter. But what they never counted on was your growth, your awakening, your rise, because while they've been busy manipulating the world, you've been building a new one without them. You've been healing step by step. You've been learning how to say no. You've been reclaiming your power, and now the energy they used to feed off is gone. They can't touch you anymore, and let me tell you something powerful. They're starting to feel it. See, narcissists don't just fall apart when you leave. They fall apart when they realize they can't replace you. They fall apart when their lies catch up. They fall apart when the new supply sees through the illusion. They fall apart when they look around and realize the empire they built was made of manipulation, not love, control, not respect, fear, not loyalty. It's crumbling bit by bit, day by day. Their charm is fading. Their mask is cracking. The people who once believed in them are starting to ask questions. And guess what? The narcissist doesn't have real answers, because they've never been about truth. They've only been about appearances. Now the consequences are showing up. Maybe they're losing relationships. Maybe their job is threatened. Maybe their health is suffering. Maybe they're haunted by a loneliness they can't escape. Because the truth is, they're finally being seen for who they are. And here's the kicker, it's just beginning. What you're witnessing is the first ripple, but soon it becomes a wave, and no amount of manipulation, charm, or deceit can stop it. Because the universe is balanced. Because truth always surfaces. Because you cannot build a future on the broken backs of others and expect peace. And while they're reaping your rising, so stand tall. Don't look back with anger, look forward with power. Don't wait for their downfall, focus on your rise. Because your success, your freedom, your peace, that is the greatest justice of all. Let them reap what they've sown. Let them feel the weight of what they did. And you walk in purpose, you walk in healing, you walk in truth, because this is your beginning too, and it's only going higher from here. Narcissists walk through life with an inflated sense of superiority, as if the world is a stage built just for them. They think they're above accountability, above truth, above the emotional consequences they inflict on others. When they manipulate, lie, discard, or betray, they do it with the arrogance of someone who truly believes they'll never have to answer for their actions. They feed off the illusion of control, convinced they can outsmart everyone, dodge every bullet, and charm their way out of every situation. But here's what they never counted on. Time has a way of revealing everything. They thought they could outrun reality, but the clock never stops ticking, and now it's caught up with them. The cracks are beginning to show. The same people they once deceived are now asking questions. Their carefully crafted facade is starting to erode, because you can only wear a mask for so long before the truth underneath starts to seep through. The narcissist thought they were untouchable because they mistook fear for respect and silence for agreement. But the tides are shifting, people are waking up, you're waking up, and more importantly, the energy they once fed on, your fear, your pain, your confusion, is gone. They're now being forced to face the consequences of their behavior in ways they never anticipated. Whether it's through broken relationships, lost credibility, failed manipulations, or internal turmoil that they can't mask anymore, the fallout has begun. And what's hitting them now isn't random. It's a direct result of their own choices. This is the part narcissists can't stand, realizing they're not immune. That life, no matter how long it delays, always delivers consequences. They're feeling it in their loss of control. They're feeling it in their increasing desperation to maintain an image that's no longer sustainable. The power they once had is slipping because the lies are catching up, and the people they used to manipulate are now walking away. There is no longer a stage big enough to hold their ego, no audience blind enough to applaud it, and no script clever enough to cover the truth. The narcissist is facing reality, and it's not the fantasy they tried to create. For so long, the narcissist relied on a web of lies, half-truths, and emotional manipulation to maintain their image and control those around them. They became experts at rewriting history, playing the victim, and turning people against one another to protect themselves from accountability. They would gaslight, project, and shift blame so convincingly that even the most self-aware individuals would begin to doubt their own perception of reality. But here's the truth. No matter how masterful the manipulation, no lie can hold forever. Eventually, the truth begins to surface. The inconsistencies become too obvious, the patterns too repetitive. People start to notice. They start connecting the dots, and what once felt like isolated confusion now reveals itself as a calculated pattern of abuse. This is where the narcissist starts to lose their grip. The narrative they carefully curated begins to crack. The stories no longer add up. The charm that once disarmed people starts to feel hollow. The emotional tactics that once silenced others begin to fall flat. Truth by nature has weight, and when it starts pressing down on the structure built entirely on deception, things start to fall apart. They can't keep up the act. The lies become harder to defend. The energy required to maintain the illusion becomes exhausting, even for them. And in the midst of it all, the people they once used are no longer available. They've begun to see clearly. They've begun to walk away. When the truth takes hold, the narcissist's power begins to dissolve. Their credibility suffers, their reputation starts to erode, and perhaps most terrifying for them, their control over people vanishes. What once made them feel powerful now becomes their biggest liability. The mask they wore is no longer effective because people can see the contradiction between who they pretend to be and who they really are. That contrast becomes undeniable. The manipulative charm, once seen as confidence, is now recognized as arrogance. The victimhood narrative, once believed, now feels like deflection. It's all catching up. And with each exposed lie, with each failed attempt to twist reality, the weight of the truth grows heavier. The narcissist is now trapped under the very deception they used to control others. There was a time when the narcissist thrived off your confusion, your emotional turmoil, and your need for answers. They knew exactly how to keep you in a loop. One moment giving you just enough validation to keep you hopeful, and the next, tearing you down to make you question your worth. That cycle wasn't random. It was designed to keep you emotionally dependent, always seeking their approval, always trying to make sense of the chaos they created. But what they never expected was your evolution. They never imagined that the very pain they inflicted would be the catalyst for your healing. They didn't foresee that one day you'd stop looking for closure from them and start creating peace within yourself. Healing is one of the most powerful forms of rebellion against narcissistic control. When you begin to reclaim your identity, your voice, your worth, it strips away everything they once used to dominate you. They no longer have access to your mind because you've learned how to see through the manipulation. You've identified the red flags, you've studied the patterns, and most importantly, you've stopped personalizing their behavior. That shift is powerful because now their tactics don't land, their games don't work. Their silence no longer scares you, and their attention no longer validates you. That unnerves them deeply. Narcissists thrive when they feel superior, when they believe they have psychological control. But when you begin to grow, they start to lose grip. Your boundaries become a mirror to their dysfunction. Your clarity exposes their chaos. Your calm presence highlights their emotional volatility. Every time you choose not to react, every time you walk away instead of engaging, you reclaim more power. And in that silence, their weakness is exposed. They see it. they feel it, and it terrifies them. Because the supply they once extracted so effortlessly is now gone, you're not fighting to be seen anymore. You're simply being. You're no longer trying to fix what you didn't break. You've outgrown the role they assigned you, and they can't follow you into this new chapter. They're left with their own emptiness, confronted by the truth that your growth has become their greatest loss. Everything the narcissist built their identity upon was external. Image was everything. They needed to be admired, envied, praised, and above all, obeyed. They created a false self, one that looked perfect, powerful, in control. But that persona was always hollow. It was never real. It required constant maintenance and an endless stream of emotional supply from others to stay alive. The supply could be admiration, fear, attention, or even conflict. It didn't matter, as long as it kept the spotlight on them, and for a long time they got exactly what they wanted. People believed the mask. They played the role of the charismatic leader, the devoted partner, the misunderstood genius. But behind closed doors, it was all manipulation and control. The moment people start to see through that act, the narcissist begins to unravel. The image they carefully protected starts to crack when those around them begin to question the inconsistencies. When you and others stop feeding their ego, stop reacting to their provocations, stop giving them emotional access, that's when the real panic sets in. Because now they can't sustain the fantasy, they're running on empty, the supply is drying up. They go back to old tactics. Guilt trips, love bombing, smear campaigns, but nothing hits the same. It's not landing like it used to because you've changed and others are starting to change too. This is when their power truly starts to slip. Narcissistic power is not real power, it's perceived power. It depends entirely on control and influence over others. Once that illusion is shattered, they have nothing. They can't survive in a world where people know their games, where their manipulations fall flat, where their charm feels forced instead of magnetic. The empire they built was never built on love, respect, or authenticity. It was built on lies, fear, and control. So when truth enters the room, everything begins to fall. They can't control how people see them anymore. They can't control you. They can't control the narrative. The desperation sets in. They start to lash out, overcompensate, or even try to reinvent themselves overnight, hoping to regain what they've lost. But it doesn't work because the foundation has already collapsed. The people who once fed their illusion are now stepping away, and without them, the narcissist is left exposed, empty, and powerless. Narcissists are skilled architects of illusion. They construct entire realities built on half-truths, exaggerations, and outright lies. To the outside world, it looks like they have it all together. The success, the charisma, the admirers, the image of someone in control. But those who have been behind the curtain know the truth. That foundation wasn't built on honesty, integrity, or emotional maturity. It was built on control, deceit, and exploitation, and no matter how long it takes, anything constructed on a foundation that unstable will eventually collapse. What you're starting to witness now is not random. It's the natural result of years of falsehood finally catching up. Their relationships are unraveling because people are waking up. Former allies are turning into skeptics. New targets aren't buying the charm as easily. Their work environments are becoming tense because their manipulative tactics are being exposed. The stories they told to cover their behavior are starting to conflict. The mask they wore for so long is slipping, and with it, the fantasy they desperately tried to uphold is fading fast. People are talking. Patterns are being recognized, and even those who once defended them are beginning to distance themselves. This is what reckoning looks like, and what's most striking is how unprepared the narcissist is for this moment. They never planned for accountability. They never imagined a time when people wouldn't believe them. They thought their charm would always win, their lies would always cover their tracks, and their manipulation would forever shield them from consequences. But now the consequences are no longer avoidable. Their lies don't bend reality the way they used to. their usual tactics now backfire. The spotlight they once loved is starting to expose them, not elevate them. This moment is the beginning, not the end. Because as the truth spreads and more people begin to connect the dots, the narcissist's entire structure begins to collapse more rapidly. What they thought was unshakable is now cracking under pressure. Their control is slipping, their allies are vanishing, and their narrative is falling apart. This unraveling is not happening all at once, but piece by piece, and the narcissist feels it. Their world is growing smaller, not larger. Their lies are becoming burdens, not shields. What they once used to manipulate others is now the very thing undoing them. The narcissist's greatest fear is not your anger, it's your indifference. It's your ability to rise above, to rebuild, and to thrive without them. They didn't just want control over your circumstances. They wanted control over your mind, your emotions, your future. They wanted you to believe that you were nothing without them, that your value depended on their approval, that your life would fall apart if they left. But now, you've proven them wrong in the most powerful way possible. Not by fighting back in rage, but by building a life of peace and purpose beyond their reach. That's the kind of justice they can never undo. Every step you take toward healing is a step they cannot follow. Narcissists don't grow, they manipulate, they don't evolve, they deflect. So when you begin to operate from a place of wholeness, clarity, and confidence, it highlights everything they lack. Your growth shines a light on their stagnation. Your peace reveals their chaos. Your success, built through integrity and resilience, makes their shortcuts and deception look small and hollow. They can't compete with it. They can't replicate it, and they absolutely can't control it. This is what eats at them. The realization that you've become untouchable, not because you fought them on their level, but because you transcended their games entirely. You stopped needing their validation. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped participating in the drama. And in doing so, you broke the unspoken contract they relied on to keep you tethered to their world. Now, they watch from a distance, no longer the center of your life, no longer the puppet master. And every achievement you make, every boundary you hold, every peaceful breath you take without them, is a silent but powerful form of justice. They may try to pretend it doesn't affect them, but inside they feel it. They sense the loss of control, the absence of your energy, and the undeniable truth that you are thriving because they're no longer in your life. That's a reality they can't spin, lie about, or manipulate their way out of. You've become the proof that their control was never real power. You reclaimed it. You chose peace. You chose yourself. And that's something the narcissist will never be able to mimic, match, or steal.